All right, friends, welcome back to another episode debrief here. I'm going to be going through your comments from last Friday's video. That is this one right here. Going to add some more context to it. We can talk a little bit about some fun behind the scenes stories, responding to some of your comments, answering some of your questions. I'm going to throw a little bit of snark in here when it's deserved, all that good stuff. So with that being said, let's dive in. Let's look at some of your comments. Let's see what you wanted to know about the house project. Let's jump right in. Okay, here is a good question. Sonoma Natural asks, I'm curious if you're keeping track of what you're spending on projects versus what you would pay to somebody to complete the job. I think you said the roof repair was $1,500 to job out versus what you spent on roofing material plus safety equipment. So, no, we are not tracking the expenses like this. I think it's a fantastic idea. I would love to do it. However, it's a little bit complicated for two reasons. One is that while you, the viewer, are watching the renovations in mostly a linear order, there are, of course, a couple exceptions, it's not happening in a linear fashion. Now, I'm not completely flubbing the timeline at all, but we're working on multiple projects at the same time, and sometimes we bop back and forth. And so I do tend to try to group similar activities together a little bit, just so that the storyline makes sense. Because I'm telling you folks, if I went purely in chronological order, it would be chaotic. It would not be good storytelling. It wouldn't be nearly as enjoyable for you. So if we decide that we're going to spend a day working on a couple different things, and then the next day we're working on maybe one of the things from the day before and then something new, and then the next day we're working on something from day one and something from day two, I tend to group those together into videos that make the most sense. Juggling a lot of factors, trying to keep the pacing good, trying to make sure the storyline makes sense, that it's varied but not too varied. There's a lot of things that going on in my editing mind, trying to stay as loyal as possible to true events, but also making it digestible. So that's one reason that we're not keeping track. It's not as clean cut and linear as I'm presenting it online. But also because of that, our bills from the lumberyard, from the hardware store, they're all mixed up. We'll go make one trip to the hardware store and we'll buy supplies for maybe 3 or 4 different projects, and it'll all be on the same bill. And I just don't have the time to sort them out into this is how much I spent on the French drain, and this is how much on this bill went to heating supplies. And then also the fact that for something like the French drain, we never priced that out. We didn't even want to know how much it was going to cost, because we were we are so capable of doing this ourselves. There's no reality in which we would hire this out. Now, on something simple like the roof patch, that was really easy. There happened to be a roofer in the area. We called them to come look. They gave us a clean quote. It didn't take very many supplies to purchase to do it ourselves, so it was a very easy comparison. $1,500 for the patch professionally versus whatever we spent on these supplies. But unfortunately, it's just not as easy for other projects. If I can do it going forward, it's something I will absolutely keep in mind. I have thought about it before, because it is really nice. It's just nice to have the numbers. However, it's just very hard also, and I don't have as much time as I should to do it properly. Jill says, digging up the basement, isn't that the part in the story where the hero discovers dead bodies buried under the concrete? So I got more than one comment in this vein, and my first and immediate reaction was, okay, but imagine how many views that video would get me. Friends, social media is sick. Yeah, a lot of people were surprised that I didn't find some sort of skeleton in my basement, and I have to say I would totally be up for that sort of adventure. I'm pretty much ready for whatever this house throws me at this point, and I could handle a dead body if it came to that. But so far, the only skeletons we have found have been of very small critters, and even those, we are collecting them. There are only a couple. I almost wish there were more. But anyway. Oh, here's just a very sweet comment that caught my eye. Gigi writes, that is such hard work. You and Phil deserve a spa day, a spa week even. Thank you for sharing. No candy-coated rehab that magically gets done in a half an hour. Have an awesome week. Thank you so much, Gigi. That was just such a lovely comment. Not only, I always love the nice comments and the compliments that, can boost my self-confidence that way. I don't mind admitting it. But I also really appreciated their appreciation for the speed of the work and the fact that it is like a little bit more slow-paced and realistic. I know not everybody enjoys it, and actually it kind of dovetails nicely with the comment that I saw. So let me go digging in the comments and bring it up for you. Okay, here it is. Found it. It's from Girl of Freedom, who writes, Jenna and Nick, they have progress and really getting it done because there's less talk and more work, and watching them is pure satisfaction. Apples and oranges, my friend. Apples and oranges. So to Girl of Freedom, I would say that my videos probably just aren't for you, and I would question why you're still watching them, since you don't actually seem to be particularly enjoying them. So if my videos are not bringing you pure satisfaction, then I would recommend to not watch them. I won't know. I won't be offended. And yeah, there are plenty of other channels out there that will be more appealing to you, including apparently Jenna and Nick. Now, I'm assuming this is referencing Jenna Phillips. There's another blonde Canadian out there renovating a house, because she gets mentioned all the time in my comment section. And, you know, I've never watched her videos. I tried one episode at the very beginning and it just really didn't click with me. But this comment here is a great opening into, I think, a broader discussion of the pace of work that happens at the house, and why it feels so slow when it maybe isn't necessarily. So I am willing to hazard a guess that this is her full-time job, which means that she can be working on her house all day, every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year if she wants to. Now, I doubt that she actually does. I hope that she doesn't. It wouldn't be healthy, but just theoretically speaking, she could if she wanted to. Turn the camera around, yours truly, I am away from the house for months at a time. In fact, I am actually away from the house more than I am at the house working there, and yet I want to keep releasing weekly videos. Theoretically, if you have followed me to my second channel, you would like to keep watching weekly videos. Oh, here comes the sirens again. So while her videos and honestly most home renovation channels that I have seen kind of, cover what they get done in 1 week, they have 7 days to film 20 to 25 minutes worth of footage for a video. My videos often take place in a single day, or sometimes they'll span up to 3 days, but never a full week, because I have a very limited amount of footage because I'm not at the house all the time and I need to make that limited footage last. So even if our budgets were completely matched dollar for dollar, adjusted for geographical location and everything, hers will still feel like they go faster, because she's constantly living at her house and constantly making content for it. In fact, I have thought about this topic a lot, not just, in just in relation to like how my channel is very different. I'm in this really weird, unique situation compared to a lot of other channels. So I came up with this kind of very fun thought experiment to do. Now, I did not prepare the exact dates, the cold hard data off the top of my head with me here. So we are going to rely on editing Shannon for some movie magic. When I'm done filming this here, she is going to go back and cross-reference the precise dates and give us the cold hard stats. But editing Shannon, you want to give us a plain white background. Perfect, thank you. Then maybe throw me up in a bubble in the corner here. Great. All right, now show us, please, how many of the house videos that I currently have on my channel that were filmed in the first 7 days that we were at the house after I purchased it. Excellent. Okay, so imagine if I was filming in the style of a more traditional house renovation channel. All these videos here would be boiled down into one episode of 25 minutes. Maybe 2 episodes if there were like 2 really key title important things happening in it. But yeah, so now editing Shannon, can we actually have the total length of all these videos combined into one? How much screen time would that be? Okay, great, thank you. So think about that. This is how long those videos currently are. That could have been boiled down to 1/2 an hour video. And if I did that, boy howdy, would it feel jam-packed. It would feel like I got so much done. In fact, you actually probably, if you're looking at this, you probably would have missed out on a ton of action and events, activity, information about the house if I had filmed it that way. So now let's go and do the same thing for week 2. So let's erase week 1, editing Shannon, show us all the videos on the channel that were filmed in the second week that we were at the house. So there we go. Again, the total length, let's throw that up on the screen. All the videos, if we watched them back to back, nonstop, how long would they be? And once again, that could have been condensed down into a single 20 to 25 minute video. Kind of wild to think about. And then we're going to do it one last time for the third week that I was at the house, and even present moment me remembers that should happen in autumn, because we only spent 2 weeks at the house in summer. We had to leave. We came back in autumn. It should encompass all of the installation of the heating. And then all these videos add up to this much screen time on my channel, but it could have been reduced down to less than a half an hour, one single video. So that's kind of wild. Like, just think about that. Think about how much you, the viewer, would have missed out on if all of those videos had been condensed down into 3, max 4 videos. What tiny fractions of those videos would have made the cut, and how much of that action would just never have seen the light of day. You certainly, for example, would not have gotten to know Canal, because I just wouldn't have had time. There would be no dog content, no cute quirky content, because who has time for that? We are strictly doing renovations here. So basically, instead of those 24 videos, we now have 3 videos. And now the pace of the work in Nova Scotia doesn't feel so slow anymore, does it? In fact, it might also start to feel like, hey, Shannon, you slow down a little bit. We would like to know some of the details of what's happening at the house. We'd like to get to know you a bit better. We want to learn a little bit more about the journey. Nope, we're flying through it, guys. 1 week per video. I am quite happy at the speed of my videos. I am aware I would probably have more viewers if they went faster, if more happened, if I could have always a before and an after, or get a ton of progress done, a week's worth of progress done per video. Absolutely mind-boggling. I would have more viewers, no doubt about it, but it would come at the compromise of, one, the video style that I enjoy making, and also like my lifestyle that I love living. I don't want to give up performing so I can make more videos. That doesn't sound fun. Clearly, I've thought about this for a long time. I could keep going, and honestly, maybe I will for my patrons who get, the extended version of these debriefs, but suffice to say that we are in very unique, different circumstances to Jenna and all the other renovation videos out there. We're moving as fast as we're able to with our very limited budget, with our very tight timelines and schedules. Our videos are just far more in depth, so hopefully you're getting to feel like you know a bit more what's going on and the reasoning behind it, just the way it is. So I've talked about this before, I think, but the vast majority of all comments on pretty much any video that I release tend to be able to be grouped into a handful of categories. Now, most of these categories change from video to video, and some of them can be predictable. Like sometimes when I'm editing a video, I'm like, ooh, I know I'm gonna get a ton of comments about this one topic, but sometimes it can be a complete surprise. And the comments for this video are no exception. So I thought, let's take a look, suss out some of these categories. And the first one that I have here was a lot of additional love for the editing of that video, specifically the music, which is funny because I know for a fact if I choose a song from this one specific artist and I make a nice montage to it, I will always get comments on the editing, which then makes it tempting, of course, to always use songs from this artist in all of my videos, and then I will always get compliments on the editing, but I like to use them kind of sparingly when it really feels appropriate. I like to use it when we're really getting a lot of work done. It's good progress music. But I am really glad that everybody enjoys it, and I appreciate everyone showing the love in the comments. I really, really appreciate that. But it is funny because it's no more or less work to edit that video than any of the other videos. They are all about the same amount of work. The amount of editing time really just varies depending on how long the final video is, but like per minute of video, it's the same amount of work, whether I'm making a fun montage that everybody notices, or it's an edit that flies under the radar and goes completely unnoticed, which, to be fair, it's completely normal. I do not expect people to notice the editing. Good editing is usually quite invisible. So it's not like a judgment on anybody if you're not noticing the editing, but it is just amusing to me because it's not until something really jumps out and catches people's eye that they then notice it, and I get lots of compliments. And even more amusing is that a lot of them take the form of, "You're getting so good at editing now," when, friends, I hate to break it to you, but it has been there all along. If you have followed me from my origins back in the sewing era, when I was making sewing and crafting videos, I paid so much more care and I spent so much more time on the production and filming and editing of those videos. I had flawless in-camera transitions. I had some amazing stop motion moments. Just a lot of elements of those videos were far more demanding and meticulous and really pushed me creatively. It's just that nobody watched them. So if you haven't seen them, and so when you do notice the editing, you think, oh, she's getting really good at editing. But actually, I just giggle a bit because my editing for the house renovation videos is so boring and basic and simple. I'm not pushing myself at all. I am not stretching my wings creatively as an editor these days. Ooh, yes, okay, this is a good one. So another one of these comment categories, possibly actually the largest one, was viewers expressing their sympathy for us having to do all of this awful work. I got a lot of people saying like, oh, it's such a bummer you're having to do this, you're going through this. I really hope the nightmare can end soon. They were all very nice, lovely comments. They were meant with the absolute best of intentions, and I received them that way. So there's no negative judgment on them, but I do think that it kind of highlighted a bit of a misunderstanding of the situation, I think. So first of all, just like the weekly reminder that I did actually know about the vast majority of these issues before I bought the house. So I did my due diligence. I had a very thorough inspection report done. Maybe actually I can make that whole report available for my patrons one day if they want to flip through it. That could be kind of fun. But yeah, I knew about basically all of this. Like, this is why I bought the house. This work right here, it's exactly the kind of stuff that we like doing. Now, obviously, the extent of the flooding was a bit of a surprise, but we knew that the house sat on a hill. We knew we would probably have to regrade and probably install French drains. Obviously, the size of the river that was running through the basement and the amount that it would flood if the sub pump stopped working, those were finer points, the extent of which were a surprise to us. But in general, we knew there was going to be a lot of this work had to be done. And of course, like, it's physically more demanding than just painting a wall or repointing a foundation. But both Phil and I derive immense satisfaction and pleasure from putting in a good day's work, especially a good day of physical labor, which I realize is a position of extreme privilege. I know that there are a lot of people that have to put in this amount of work daily, and for them it is probably less satisfying. So I'm lucky that I can choose this path for myself. I can choose that there are days when I do a lot of heavy lifting and a lot of physical labor, but I did buy the house specifically for this reason. I actually saw another comment, maybe I can find it here. They said, maybe I'd have been better off with a newer home, which, I mean, first of all, old homes are what make my heart sing, and new homes are kind of just boring boxes of cheap and soulless material that are more often than not meant to be torn down and replaced rather than maintained and repaired. But also, like, let's be honest, newer homes are going to have their problems too, except they are usually built with flimsier, lower quality products than old houses. So when they do inevitably fail, they're going to be harder to fix. You are going to have to kind of tear down and replace more than you're going to have to be able to repair. Oh, I loved this one. Awkward Burb, great username, first of all. Awkward Burb wrote that whenever they have to clean out the sink drain and they don't think they can, they remember me and Phil wading through our cellar without fear or squeamishness, and it helped them feel braver in their very own small way. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I love feeling that my videos can be an inspiration to viewers out there, even if it is in the smallest or most mundane or most unexpected of ways. It's just like very rewarding to feel like what I'm doing, it can actually have an influence on people. So I appreciate that type of comment very much. And yes, you can do it. Get that sink drain. Another category we've got here, ooh, this is a fun one, the category of pro tips. Now, usually when people include the word pro tip in their comment, it's often just a means of condescension or mansplaining, but I'm very happy to report that this week everybody was very polite and generally useful with their pro tips. So first of all, the pro tip that I did already know, and I'm pretty sure it's very common knowledge, but in case it's not, I will share it, and that is that if you didn't know, when using power tools that are plugged into an extension cord, make a knot with the two ends and then plug them into each other. That way, if either cord gets snagged anywhere, the pressure is spread between the two plugs and the power tool won't get unplugged. So yeah, I actually just did this 2 days ago. It's a pretty common tip, but it's very useful, so I'll share it. Then the pro tip that I didn't know, and a lot of these comments came from archaeologists, which I just thought that was super cool. I think archaeologists are one of the coolest professions out there. I'm sure it's far more mundane than people romanticize. If I had to guess, they would romanticize this profession a lot, but still, I just thought it was so neat that archaeologists were commenting on my videos, and their tip by and large was to sharpen the shovel, because it's going to make the job a lot easier, especially going through all of that clay. This was something that I did not know, but so many people commented on it, and actually one archaeologist in particular had a really good comment, if I can find it. Yes, okay, True Marklander wrote, I'm an archaeologist, and man, when we have to dig through clay for weeks at some sites, I have a thought bubble floating over my head that says, sure, let's be an archaeologist, she said. It'll be fun, she said. I just really loved the image that gave me, that she's seeing this thought bubble floating above her head, kind of judging herself for her life choices, because I think we've all been there. Good to know that archaeologists have also been there too. And yeah, sharpen your shovel, folks. But speaking of tools, I did also get a lot of love and sympathy from people in the comments who also have been met with frustration that the world of renovation and DIY seems to be exclusively built for people that are 6 foot tall and taller. It is wild. Other people sharing their frustrations at being a short person in the comments, and I will say, yes, it is super annoying. Both power tools and gym equipment, those are my two largest complaints, pet peeves, whatever you want to call it. Not everybody who wants to use machines, whether it's in the gym or in the workshop, not all of those people are massively tall. Sometimes short people want to use machines too. And it is very irritating that when it's just not possible because it's not made for you, or when you're trying to do tricep dips, except your arms are out here because that's as wide as the machine is. Ugh. So yeah, really irritating. I would have loved a chance to play with the sparkly new shiny power tool toy. But in the end, it's fine because I did actually get probably even more work done just having to use the shovel, digging, and hauling out all of the clay. So, you know, it was fine in the end. Side eye. Speaking of clay, Lydia Johnson wrote, "New channel, Shannon makes clay pots." So there were actually a lot of comments. This was another category about me saving the clay and making pottery. Some of you noted, you know, in my loads of spare time. I appreciated that. Yeah, it's probably not really suitable clay for making anything like any long lasting types of pottery, but there is something related to this topic in the works. I won't say more on that now. We will keep it a surprise unless you are a patron, and then you already know about it. Josie Spritzer wants to know, how much does a Kent bucket of clay weigh? You know, I genuinely didn't think to weigh it, and now I'm regretting it. Although, as I'm saying this, I'm also realizing I don't think we have anything at the house to weigh it with, but that would have been an excellent stat to have. It would have been really nice to know how much does a bucket weigh on average, and how many buckets did we pull out of there. Would have been a really fun stat to have. Unfortunately, I do not have it. All I can tell you is it weighs a fair amount. You know, if you fill an entire bucket up to the top, I can still lift it, but it's really like a lift with your legs and not your back type situation. So, you know, they're fairly heavy. Then I got a couple pedantic viewers who felt it necessary to point out that it is sump pump, as in S-U-M-P. I am well aware of that. Yes, I know it is sump pump, but that is very awkward to say. Like, try saying sump pump in a normal flowing conversation. It is very awkward, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody call it a sump pump. Everyone calls it a sump pump because you kind of just run the MP from sump together with the P from pump and it becomes sump pump. If you don't believe me, you can actually go back a bit over a year to one of my earlier videos, back when I used to provide kind of short little definitions of some of the terms I thought viewers might not be familiar with, and you can see I do in fact know how it's spelled. This is kind of one of my larger pet peeves, the rise of this sort of very rude and classist urge that people online seem to have to correct people's spelling or pronunciation, and it is the type of errant pedantry up with which I shall not put. So with that being said, allow me a second to climb off of my soapbox because we've got some cute corgi comments coming in. Yeah, a whole load of them. Got another category of comments all about Canel. I especially liked Wendy's comment, which says, "I love the juxtaposition of you and Phil toiling away while Canel is relaxing on her comfy velvet fainting couch." Yeah, that was actually exactly the word I had in mind as I was editing this, was juxtaposition. I snapped that video clip when I came up from the basement. I had to grab something. I don't remember if I forgot a tool upstairs or I needed to grab my phone, whatever it was. I was just instantly hit by like the peaceful serenity of Canel, completely blissfully oblivious to what was happening below her, snoozing away, and meanwhile Phil and I are sweating and toiling and covered in muck and mud, and it was very appropriate. So I'm glad that that translated into the montage and that people appreciated it enough to comment on it. And to everyone asking what the dream was about, yes, it was almost 100% indubitably about chasing sticks. Those are the two dreams she has. She is either chasing sticks or she is eating food. Those are her true passions in life, and they are her two passions in the dream world. And if I can ever manage to get a visual audio clip of her eating in her dreams, I will put it on the channel because that is absolutely adorable. Oh, then next up, we had a couple eagle-eared viewers who caught the Fifth Element reference. Well done. Yeah, big Fifth Element fans. Over here, it was not the movie that we were going to watch in cinema at the end of the video. I don't remember what movie we were going to watch. We were going to go see something in cinema, but can't remember what it was. It wasn't Fifth Element, but yes, that was the multi-pass reference. 100% Fifth Element. Bonnie Young writes, the fact that we don't have to bleep out huge sections of our videos says that you are both very tolerant of frustrating work in your house. I appreciate the kind and humorous words, Bonnie. I think it helps that we don't really generally find it frustrating. We find it more satisfying, going back to the previous point. But as I went into, I went into this more in depth in my previous Get to Know Me video right here, but we do both swear a very normal amount, sometimes in multiple languages. Actually, funny story about the channel here is that one of the first episodes, the one where Phil and I are just starting to clean out the attic in the summer, and I come across a tin, the classic Danish cookie round sewing tin that everybody's grandmas put all their sewing supplies in, and I looked at it and I was like, ooh, is it sewing stuff? Oh my god, is it gonna be sewing stuff? And then I opened it and it was not, and I said, no, it's plumbing shit. To which Phil's immediate and comic relief response was, hey, it's not plumbing shit, it's plumbing stuff. Not sewing stuff, it's plumbing shit.
Hey, plumbing stuff.
The comments on that video was mildly shocking, the number of people who thought that he was trying to censor me, and we're actually applauding him for it. Like, we're saying, hey, well done on keeping your woman in check, basically, which is not at all what was happening. And he wasn't even trying to tell me, hey, don't swear because you're on YouTube. He was trying to say, hey, give the plumbing stuff the same respect as you gave the sewing stuff. Don't call it sewing shit, it's sewing stuff. So I thought that was kind of funny. But we don't censor ourselves for the sake of pearl clutchers, let's say, for people who would find it inappropriate that we are normal human beings and we curse. But rather, it's because I know that people watch with their families, and especially a lot of people watch with young ones around. And I think that's amazing. I love that more people are getting involved in it. It's a whole family affair, and I want to keep my videos family friendly. So I have no problems keeping it clean for the kids. I will bleep that out. If I have to, I try to just not swear at all so I don't have to bleep it out. But yeah, that's the reason that there aren't huge sections of bleeps in our videos. We both enjoy the work, and we try to control our potty mouth when the camera's turned on. Leah in Alberta writes, your little yellow shovel looks like a Fisher-Price shovel. Sounds like it works as well with that clay too. Yeah, I had a lot of people laughing at the little yellow shovel that I was waving around. Lynn said that little yellow shovel up against this humongous task makes me laugh sad tears for you. So I'm pretty sure everybody, or almost everybody, understood that I was not actually doing the majority of the work with this tiny little shovel. I found it hanging on a little nail tucked up in a corner on a beam of one of the basement poutres beams, and I thought it would be funny to use it as a prop. We had joked that would make a funny little bit. But then actually the reason it's dirty is because we hit one tight little corner where the curved spade shovel actually couldn't reach in that corner. It was having a really hard time getting in there and loosening up the soil. But guess what was perfect? That little yellow shovel. So yes, it did actually see some use, but no, it was not doing the majority of the work. It was more just for comical effect, or because I happened to have it in my hand. I don't remember, but it was surprisingly useful at certain moments. Next, a lot of you had questions about exterior French drains, why we chose to do an interior drain rather than an exterior drain. And as I kind of summed up in my one response over here, it's mainly a combination of lack of money, time, and expertise. So in general, it is a safe assumption that if we're not doing something on the house that you think it would make great sense to do, it is either a lack of time or money, or we will be doing it just in the future. We haven't gotten to it yet. So it's always kind of a safe assumption. In this case, it's kind of all of the above. One, we will eventually do an exterior French drain. We do have plans for it. However, we did not have the money or the time for it, and since neither Phil or I know how to operate an excavator, that's a lack of expertise that then kind of dumps back into money. We don't have the money to pay somebody to come work an excavator for us, because it's not just digging a French drain. If you go back, I'm going to constantly recommend this video right here, Top 10 Things Wrong with My Old House, which, as an aside, this is not to try to earn a few more cents from you watching my video. It's just because it's quite time prohibitive. So many people ask the same question over and over, and I've already explained the situation in great detail and with visual aids in a previous video. So if I have that, I'm always going to redirect people to that. It saves me so much time. It's going to give you a better understanding of the situation. So it's really not about me earning a couple more cents. It's me trying to save my sanity. But as I talked about in that video there, the soil at the whole back of the house is at least 30 centimeters or roughly a foot too high. It might even be more high than that. So we need to completely regrade all of the soil at the back of the house, not just in a tiny trench along the back, but like meters and meters. Like, you need to slope the land gently away, and that's going to involve digging up a ton of earth. And so we weren't going to just dig a little French drain and then have to like undo all of that work later when we regrade. We're just going to wait and do it all at the same time. But again, didn't have time or money to do it immediately. So many reasons, so many reasons. Then I also did have a confusing amount of people telling me what a French drain was, as if I didn't know, which in any other video, like I often get comments from people who haven't seen the previous videos telling me that I should install a French drain. But I'm just confused because in this video, and quite early on, I literally sat down with people and explained what a French drain was and why we were installing it, because I figured some people might not know and they might want the explanation. So then it was really confusing to why people were then explaining it back to me. Make it make sense. I don't know. I will also say that if this video has not already come out on a Wednesday, they will probably start coming out on either Wednesdays or Thursdays in the future, just because I noticed, I kind of shot myself in the foot here, I'm reacting to your comments, your questions, your opinions on the video. But if I link the debriefs immediately at the end of the main channel video and you all click over there, then I get fewer comments to react to. So I think by letting them marinate a little bit longer, doing the debriefs and releasing them on Wednesdays and Thursdays, then when people watch the main channel videos, if you want to leave a comment, you'll have more time to, and you won't feel stressed to click on over. But I am hoping that I can release these regularly enough that people actually start to know to start checking for them on a specific day every week, if not every week, just, every other week, something like that. So anyway, hope you enjoyed my thoughts. Got a little bit sassy this week. What can I say? Sometimes the comments do be being rude. So anyway, catch you next week. Hope you have a lovely week, and I'll see you on the main channel on Friday. Bye!